Greetings and salutations. Welcome to another episode of Not a Linux Guru Guy. And today we're going to take a look at KDE and Cinnamon desktops and compare the two and figure out which one is the best one. For you, maybe. For me, I have my own choice, but you might have a different choice. But we'll compare the two and see what the benefits and pluses and minuses are for each system. And so on the other side of the intro, we'll take off on that job. Thanks. Thanks you for watching this video. Also, if you like the video and you want to subscribe down there's a button down there to subscribe, and click notification bell so you get notified by email whenever I have a new one come out, since I don't have a regular schedule for these things. Actually, I have a few more coming out real soon. Matter of fact, I have. The next video is going to be about Parrot OS. Yeah, cybersecurity. Part of the reason I'm having that is because my son's coming. I'm going to have him install it. And he's actually been in college, have been installing Linux distros. So we'll see how he does. Yeah, might probably do better than my wife, probably. I had to guide her a good bit, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, we have today we're going to take a look at KDE and Cinnamon desktop. Now I have to give you a little history on this because I really love Cinnamon desktop. That's the thing I like most about Linux Mint, and it was intuitive, and it seemed like you could configure the heck out of the thing, So you could do whatever you wanted on it, pretty much. To my limited knowledge at the time. Then I also tried out KDE at one point, and I kind of couldn't figure it out very well. There's things I didn't like about it, blah, blah, blah. Didn't know I could change them at that point, so I had no idea that I could make it what I wanted it to be in that regard. But yeah, so we installed it. But lately I decided I've been exploring a little bit more KDE and trying to figure out, and I'm actually using it for a daily driver at this point, and I really like it pretty much. So I thought I'd do this comparison video between the two, what I found out, and some of the things that I like and don't like about each system. So, without further ado, I'll introduce you to Cinnamon KDE now. Now, Cinnamon, I'm using Linux Mint since it kind of goes with this. That's what Linux Mint was made for. Cinnamon. Cinnamon was made for Linux Mint. Linux was made for Cinnamon. So we're going to go with that and look at Linux Mint and Cinnamon installation in their known boxes, virtual boxes. And then we're also going to look at Kubuntu as our Linux Mint distro for that part. Now, why Kubuntu? Because I thought it would be more of a good comparison between Linux Mint and then I could have gone with KDE Neon OS, but it doesn't really quite compare with Linux Mint. I'm not really reviewing Linux Mint proper or Kubuntu. I'm reviewing the desktops here. So I wanted something that's comparable though for comparison purposes. So I figured Kubuntu was probably a little bit more comparable software-wise with Linux Mint, and I wanted to see what they had on each one. So that's my reasoning behind that. May agree with you, may not, but there you go. It's my show. Yeah, so anyway, Now I've put those in no boxes, so let's take a look at that. I have our Linux Mint desktop up, and you can see here one of the things I checked out on this. It says your system is currently running without a video hardware acceleration. That's partly because it's running in a virtual box. For some reason, Linux Mint has this issue that I haven't seen on other desktops or installations, that whenever it's running in a virtual desktop, it wants to run without your video hardware acceleration. And I haven't figured out how to get it to work with that yet, so check your video drivers. And I've tried launching Driver Manager, doesn't seem to get me anywhere, so that's why you see that now. Because of that, when I'm about to, a couple of the benchmarks that I had for this was, first benchmark I had was memory. Probably isn't going to be comparable, so I went and installed it on my Acer laptop over here, and as well, and to see, and it did reduce down the amount of memory it uses. So I think there is some memory being used up by this software rendering performance. So I'll show you what that looks like here in a minute, but yeah, it's Linux Mint, and one of the things I really liked about it when I found it, it comes from Ubuntu especially, is that it was highly configurable. And the thing that I really liked about it was that you do searches, so like power management, you go power, and there'd be power management. You go click, and away it'd pop up, and you can set it however you wanted it. There's more options when you're in a real computer, not in virtual boxes, but that's either here nor there. But yeah, you have power manager, and you also have what is what would be known as kind of a control panel settings. Yeah, your appearance and all the themes and font selections and effects and backgrounds, and all that kind of stuff is all right there in one group. So that's nice. And so let me break it down for you, what I'm thinking about here. Because the first option is memory. Now, let me show you what I did originally on this. I pull up terminal, Minty. Yeah, so HTOP. And you see it's got about 695, almost 700 megabytes of memory being used right there. And this I installed all of the virtual machines in this computer over here. I installed had about 500. Now, one of the things about Linux Mint and Cinnamon is that the memory will expand. The more memory you have, the more memory you'll use. And the less memory you have, the less memory you'll use. So, yeah, because like when I have on the same computer, I've got this virtual boxes on. It uses about almost a little over a gig of memory at a time, but there's like 12 gigs on this computer here. So out of 12 gigs of memory uses like about a gig of data. Now, KDE does the same thing, Plasma, that it expands, but it uses like 2 gigs on this computer, approximately, around averages around there somewhere, or almost 2 gigs or something along those lines. So yeah, and so I expected that Cinnamon would be the the winner here in the gig category. But that's not to be apparently, because actually KDE came in at 560 megabytes of memory used on the same virtual machine. Now, I installed it on this machine over here, and it came up with 640 megabytes. Cinnamon I did. I installed Cinnamon desktop on this Acer laptop over here on a real machine to see if the difference would in software acceleration would be the difference it needed, and it kind of was for the most part. Still more than what KDE had, but at the same time, yeah, same time it still was pretty. It was a little bit heavy, but not too much more heavier. It's about another 40, 80 megabytes of data that it used. So I gave the Cinnamon for memory use, I gave it a 3, which is kind of average, I guess. It's not the best, like if you put a window manager on there and you use like 300, 400 megabytes of data, but it's not the worst either, like some of the Bungie on the Solus desktop seemed like it used a good bit of memory out of that. I checked it before I installed it. So memory category, KDE actually wins that better, just by a little bit. So I installed three for Cinnamon, and 4 out of 5 points for KDE on that score. Now, as far as how much hard drive, I don't know how to really, I'm not even sure it's an accurate metric to measure, but I did anyway. So, out of KDE, out of Cinnamon, it used approximately 9.2 gigabytes of the data. KDE used about 9.7 gigabytes of the data. So not much difference there. And I give them both 4 out of 5 points for not knowing, how it compared to a lot of other systems on that point. So that's why I'm not really sure how much that accurate that is. Maybe they use about the same amount of data for their systems, and that also depends on what system you're installing too and what all you're throwing on there. So yeah, it's compatible. That would, if anything, that kind of indicates that Kubuntu and Linux Mint are probably comparable systems as far as that goes, both being Ubuntu based and long-term support based, that kind of thing. Now, how configurable is the desktop environment? I think both are pretty highly configurable now. KDE actually wins out in that point a little more than, there's a few more configurations, some of them minor, some of them a little bit more bigger, that you can do with KDE. You can configure, like for instance, one of the minor things is the desktop backgrounds. That's neither here nor there for a lot of people, but some people might think it's cool that you can put different backgrounds on different screen monitors. So I have 2 screens on this computer, and I got 2 different backgrounds on KDE. They're both nebulas, but they're cool. So that's nice, but I could get along with that. I could live with that. It's not a big deal to have 2 different backgrounds. Cinnamon, I think you can only put 1 background there that I'm aware of. I never have run across any setting in there that said you could do it differently. And when you put a background on one, it appears on both at the same time. So, difference between the 2, I guess. But there's other things that may be a little bit more major, like you can configure. Both of them have menu editors where you can edit the menus, but KDE has an alternate menu, so you can put different types of menus. You can put up to 3 different menus on KDE, whereas Cinnamon just has 1 menu and that's it, boom. That's all you're going to get on that, unless you install some kind of special software on there that sticks different menus on your computer or something like that. But out of the box, KDE has 3 alternate menus that it can use. And for me, that was really key because I like cascading style menus, I've said before. And I can, now if I didn't like KDE, if I wanted a GNOME desktop, more look, or something like that, I couldn't get that so easily out of Linux Mint. So, yeah, it's really helpful to have those options on there for that in some cases. Yeah, sit there, try each one out and see which one I like the best and that kind of thing. Now, Linux Mint, in that category, I gave it a 5 as far as configurability. It's not, now, the good thing about KDE is it's very configurable, a little more than Cinnamon, but not by much, but a little bit more. It's more configurable in a lot of ways. But the downside to KDE on that, and the thing I don't like about it, is its non-standard naming practices and its ways of getting to do things. Here, I'll show you what I mean by that. When, like I said, I prefer a power menu on this. If I wanted to edit, to put a shortcut in there, yeah, and go, key bindings or key something, whatever, keyboard, maybe it's on keyboard, password keys for keyboard. Yeah, so I'll go down to that, boom. Oh, there's shortcuts, yeah. Shortcuts. It has a menu, you can go down here and get all sorts of custom shortcuts that you can on here. You get launchers, you can launch all your stuff, calculator, email, web browser, you can put here, you can go, okay, I want to use Super W key and make that the Windows manager. And it's done. Inside that, you bring up that, you bring up the launch your web browser just by hitting the Super and the W key. It's that simple. Yeah, and when I tried to find the same thing in KDE the first time, I couldn't find it. Had no idea how to install that. Now I could have gone on if I'd have wanted to and out on the web and looked and did some searches and figured it out. But as far as intuitively speaking, their way they're doing it's not very intuitive, and I'll show you that here in a minute. But yeah, there's other things like Power Manager and things like that that were a little difficult. Like lock screen was near impossible to find where that was put. But let's shut this down now. We'll go to Kubuntu here. Fantastic. Yeah, so yeah, if you wanted to get this on this is a totally different way of naming things. So don't go out standard Power Manager and stuff like that. So this is your out of the box default KDE environment here. Okay. Here's your KDE menu. And to get to applications, you gotta go over here. If you wanted to type in Power Manager, yeah, which one of these I wonder which it is. So, you know, the advanced activity settings, maybe that is per activity power management. I thought maybe, that wasn't it. It was energy savings down here. That was the basic one-to-one comparison to Power Manager on Cinnamon. Energy saving. Well, it makes a little bit of sense the way they named it, but still, it's not intuitive that people would look for energy saving. Okay, that's comparable, I guess, so we'll go with that for the time being, and then what about keyboard shortcuts? Keyboard, hardware layout, custom shortcuts, global shortcuts, standard shortcuts, input methods. Now I got 3 shortcut things, and I don't know what they are. And actually, none of those are the standard way you should put your shortcuts in on KDE. Confusing a little bit. Yep. So actually, global shortcuts is, I think, the one you could use for some things. And it's application launchers, and so you can do this, and it's not as intuitive as to how you fix these. Yeah, you can put dolphin. But yeah, I haven't found an easy way I like to do file manager or whatever file manager's default file manager, to launch it. So click on this, and then you can enter custom meta E or super E is the default one. Now if you want to change it from dolphin to something else, then that's a different deal. But the easy way to do this, if you want to know how to do it, is you go here, right click on the menu app button. You can go to edit applications, and then you can go up here to your systems and programs. Like say you want to give it Firefox. You go from over here, you click the General Advanced tab, you click Advanced. Right down here, current shortcut key. Boom. That's an alternate way to click shortcut keys on the whole list of things. And you can do any menu item that way. So that's really the best place to go to do it if you have a specific program you want to put an application launcher on. Find your keys, shortcut keys to that. So that was one thing. Now the other one was one of the good things I like about KDE is that it has now they have what's called a vertical menu bar over here with all your system setting managements. So you want to go window management, you go here, and there's all sorts of things you can configure and all this stuff. So that's why I say there's probably a little bit better configurability on KDE, because I haven't even investigated all of these options here. So you can go Windows rules, KWin scripts, task switchers, so on and so forth on here. And you can go over here to window actions, movements, advanced, title bar actions. It's a whole host of options you have to switch things around here now. Here's one of the things I was talking about. How do you get the lock screen? I tried screen entering into the search bar on the menu. Tried entering in a screensaver, lock screen, all that kind of stuff. Nothing showed up until I finally found it here in workspace behavior. And you go down here, screen locking. And then you configure screen locking. Kept locking up my screen. I couldn't figure out what it was doing. Now, if you're like me and I like to have my virtual desktop stay on all the time, I got my computer plugged in. This is important information to know because I couldn't figure out why I kept locking the screen on me after a few minutes. This is where it happens. So after 50 minutes, you see it on my clock. So turn it off. You just go there, click on those, and boom. You don't have to worry about that anymore. You can always have your shortcut key to lock it if you need to. Like you're going to walk away for a period of time. Or you can just turn the whole thing off if you want to. Yeah, so power management is energy savings, remember that. And you find the screen locking action in workspace behavior. Yeah, there's so many effects in here. But I never thought to look workspace behavior for screen locking, that kind of thing. You actually have virtual desktops, configure navigation number and layout of virtual desktops. That's like workspace 1, 2, 3, that kind of thing. All sorts of, the configurability of this is really amazing because you have all these things that you can change on it. Now, one of the things I've also figured on this was say I want to change the icon. I tried to do Cinnamon, I couldn't quite figure out how to do it unless you have a theme, a general theme that you download that has icons attached to it or something like that. But I couldn't find the KDE themed icons, which I sort of like those because they're kind of snazzy. So yeah, I could go here, say I wanted icons. And icons, there it is right there. Choose icon theme. They have actual icon themes you can go to. And you can have all these icon themes you can pick from. And now you like a certain set you have to install. So install from get new icons. Click on that. It loads data. Okay, now that's there. Now put it, oh, it's right there. I don't even have to search for it. You can search for any icon theme you will specifically look for, but there's candy icons. I can install those like that. Blah 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 blah. Installing candy icons. Installing. Some of these takes longer now. The Cinnamon theme installation seemed to go pretty fast. Maybe I gotta download more stuff on these. I don't know. Show most recent. Okay, so close. Now it should be here to select candy icons. Select that. Apply. Yeah. Usually for these kind of things take effect, you have to log out and log back in. So we'll do that real quick. You'll see the effects. And log out. Okay. Logging back in. And now you'll see candy icons on menu items and stuff like that. See? All the console, all these icons are a little different. I kind of like these icons for some reason. They just float my boat. I don't know why, but they do. So, yeah, it's updater telling me you need updates and stuff on here, but I'm going to ditch these when I'm done with these, so I'm not going to worry about it. So anyway, that's how that's configurable now. I can't do that in Cinnamon. So if you like a little bling to your life, you can do this in KDE Plasma. Like I say, you can change the alternate desktop. Right click, show alternate. And then say I wanted the simple menu, cascading style menu. Hold it, there's 4 menus here. Add a menu, add a simple menu launcher, as well as this cascading pop-up menus that I use. Plus they have a standard application launcher, the one we just were on, and then we have the application launcher, full screen application launcher. Interesting, I don't know if I've ever done this before. So now you got four menus you can select from. At least on Ubuntu's KDE version. You do. And oh, interesting. So then you have this setting. Simple menu. Nice. So anyway, that's how configurable KDE is, and you can see the difference in there. Really, I struggled over how to score these two settings, but they're probably basically about both 4, because KDE is very highly configurable, obviously, adds a Cinnamon compared to your standard desktop. Cinnamon is highly configurable. But they're both highly configurable. KDE probably beats out Cinnamon in the highly configurable category per se. But I knocked the point off of KDE because it's so hard to find something, figure out how to set parameters like lock screen and stuff like that. Because they have them in weird places, not standard names for things and stuff like that. So I gave them both 4 for that reason. 1 point knocked off from Cinnamon because it's not as configurable, so I couldn't make them equal. But 1 point knocked off for KDE because it's complicated and they made it not a standard thing. Now you can find eventually if you enter the right search parameters, sometimes you can find the right feature, or you sit there and browse to that long list of menu items. It's the standard thing. System stuff. But yeah. So they both get a 4 for that. They're not knocked down. So it depends on what you're looking for there. Looking for something that's highly configurable, but easy and intuitive to get around in and figure out what's going on, then Cinnamon's probably your deal. If you want something that's got even more configurability than Cinnamon, and you're willing to do a little more research and figure out, how to use the system and get used to it, then KDE's probably your desktop system. Yeah, so it all depends on what you're looking for there. So 4 out of 5 for both of those on that one. Now they have a file managers. I compared file managers since you use those a lot. Now I have to admit a certain bias here. I love Nemo, and I like to install it on any desktop I get most of the time if it doesn't already have it. Now I'll put up with Thunder. It's okay. It's not bad. It comes with the XFCE desktop, but Dolphin. Now Dolphin's okay if you like the icon things. You have it set on icon views. But I've always liked the detailed list view of things. And Dolphin's detailed list is not very workable. It's too big. It looks ugly. And it's not just very usable. It's not very detailed, I guess you could say. And also, it seems like it has a tendency to want to push you into the one-click thing. I like to double-click things. Now, one time I tried to figure out how to set that to only double-click, but it wouldn't do it. I can only do a single click on it. Well, surely there's got to be a setting in here somewhere. I couldn't find it at the time. Maybe somebody can point it out in the comments below. Be my guess. I'll be happy to look at that. But I couldn't configure Dolphin very easily, so I don't like Dolphin very much. And unfortunately, it seems to be the default file manager for KDE. So I gave Nemo a 5 and out of from Cinnamon, and I put Dolphin at a 4 for that. So 5, 4. I originally had Dolphin at 3, and then I thought, well, it's probably a little bit better. I don't know what's a 3. Anyway, now on the system setting side of it I just talked about, neither one's really perfect in that regard. Cinnamon individual apps which are named fairly standard and so come up in searches well enough are also compiled into a control panel type setting functions, whereas KDE gets points for more integrated control panel, the vertically oriented but non-standard namespace puts things, make it non-intuitive to find what you're looking for. So I knocked a point off for that. And I don't know. I really should not come off of that for not being as configurable. Cinnamon. So I'm going to give that a 4. And for not being as configurable as KDE, but I'm going to knock KDE down to 4 also for not being as intuitive as Cinnamon is. So they both get a 4 in that category. Okay. Now, terminals that they use. Terminals for GNOME, for Cinnamon Desktop, the standard terminal is a GNOME terminal, which I like. It's configurable, and it's not too bad. Now, the standard terminal for KDE is Console, which is also configurable, and it's probably even a little bit more configurable than the GNOME terminal. You can set different profiles if you like. Certain profiles, you can set a different profile and have different colors if you wanted to. For different purposes, like say you wanted to set a profile for one. If you have multiple terminals up, you probably set different profiles to make them different colors and such, so you can keep them separated in your mind. Could be work. Anyway, they're both highly configurable. I gave both 5s because they seem to be good terminals. I use both of them and like them. The ones I don't like are the really fancy ones that have all the fish terminal and stuff like that. Yeah, it's complicated. I don't know, I have to relearn terminal every time I go into an application. Anyway, so I put that down to 4.3 if they had a fish terminal or something like that. But so other apps. Now, the other apps I'm talking about are more like what you can do. Both come equipped with good apps to use. Now, I'm not talking about like LibreOffice and stuff like that. I'm talking about system apps and things that come with the desktop itself that are inherently unique to the desktop or something along those lines. So like KDE has a lot of interesting apps that like probably the most interesting, intriguing, and practical uses apps is the KDE Connect, which allows you to connect your cell phone or other computer stuff like that up with your computer. So like you can get and reply to text on your computer if you wanted to. I heard one person actually used it to I think old Tech Bloat, if I remember correct, had a video on using it for voice dictation through your cell phone's Google app. So, yeah, you can do all sorts of stuff like with that. It's helpful. Now, Cinnamon has also the Warpinator, I think it's called, if I remember correctly. I've used it a time or two. It works pretty well, and it's a good app. You have to have it on both machines, which is not too hard to install on any Linux distro if you want to. But it comes out of the box on Cinnamon, and I think it originated with Cinnamon, if I remember correctly, Linux Mint. So that's another good aspect. So each one has things the others doesn't in that regard, and the others have. I think KDE probably has a little bit more on that end. They have a contact manager, they have a calendar, and all this other stuff that integrates with the desktop environment. So I kind of gave it a. Whereas the Warpinator is the only thing I really think of on Cinnamon that's especially unique about it. The other apps are pretty standard apps you can get on most desktops. The thing is with Cinnamon, they're easy to find, and you know pretty much what they're going to be doing that then. And my DS disabled. There it goes. See, there's the thing I want to set my settings on to always be accurate. It always not do anything. So I was obviously chatting too long. So I should move on, huh? Yeah. So let's get back to my voice so I can chat with you in actuality here. There's my face. Yeah, so KDE has a lot of good features. It's highly configurable. Has a Cinnamon, both of them are configurable. KDE beats it out. So if you want something that's highly configurable, a lot of options for you to go through and figure out how to set things. You want like different backgrounds on your two screens that you have connected to one computer. You can do that with KDE. Other things you can do with KDE that you can't with Cinnamon, but it's too complicated to go through all those lists right there. But you can configure Cinnamon pretty well for most things. Most of the configurations, extra configurations for KDE aren't life-changing major things you have to have in order for your system to work. And it's easy to find your stuff in Cinnamon. KDE is a little more difficult to find what you want sometimes because of all the options you have to search through and use that search function menu pretty a lot. But sometimes I remember I was trying to find the lock screen and I think I finally saw maybe it says something to do with the lock. So I put lock in and it popped up and I was like, oh, there it is. It's under Windows behavior or not Windows behavior. Workspace behaviors. Who knew? Anyway, yeah, so there's things you like about both of them. Hopefully I've given you some things to think about, to go over, to decide what you want. So I'm going to show you how I've set up KDE. I think I showed you this before, but I'm going to show you it again. So we'll go back to screen real quick and see my setup with KDE that I currently have. How I've warped it out. I like candy icons, so I have those installed. You see that Kmail, Conquer, all these things with K on the front are usually KDE specific programs. K-Theft. Doesn't mean you steal things, but yeah. Kmail header theme editors. You can do all sorts of stuff in here. Contact theme editor, contact print theme editor. There's all sorts of stuff. And it's handy to explore. If you like tweaking things, then KDE is definitely your desktop. You can tweak this to full, however you want to tweak it. And I got the nebula here, and I had another different nebula on my other screen that you can't see from here. So, yeah. So here we are. Hi. Yeah, I really like KDE. I like Cinnamon. I think I still would prefer Cinnamon a little bit more. I forgot to tell you the total score on that, didn't I? Looks like KDE slightly beat out Cinnamon in the total score count. Have a total of 29 points towards Cinnamon and 30 points, 1 point more to KDE. So you can tell I like both a lot, huh? So, yeah. We will see you next time. Next time I'm going to have my son with me, who is also in cybersecurity, so at least he's in school to go through cybersecurity, and he's also installed, like I said, Linux desktops on some. So I think next time I'll have him install Parrot OS, the desktop everybody loves to download for security purposes. Until next time, remember, may the Linux force be with you and Merry Christmas. Bye.